As the war on terror group Hamas continues, the Israel Defense Forces announced on Thursday that it had extended its ground operation in the central Gaza Strip to new areas. This came as a violent end to a period of nearly 2 days in which no projectiles were fired at the country from Gaza. Palestinian terrorists fired dozens of rockets at southern and central Israel. The 99th Division allegedly moved into uncharted territory in central Gaza in order to establish operational control north of the so-called central camps and south of Gaza City. As part of the operation, the IDF statement also stated that Hamas's infrastructure, including tunnels and weapon caches, was destroyed. During the operation, an airstrike was also conducted against a Hamas cell that was launching RPGs from a municipal facility. The Shajaya neighborhood in Gaza City, which witnessed some of the bloodiest fighting during the ground onslaught against Hamas, was later declared by the IDF to have been fully under operational control, and that Hamas's core capabilities had been destroyed there. It claimed that numerous weapon caches and subterranean shafts discovered in residences, schools and medical facilities had been destroyed. The Golani Brigade of the EDF reportedly raided the homes of senior Hamas members and took intelligence materials from Shajaya. Meanwhile, the 188th Armored Brigade took control of the Shajaya Battalion headquarters of Hamas, from which terrorists launched their October 7th attack on southern Israel. In the meantime, the RDF reported that the Paratroopers Brigade had destroyed over 100 of Hamas's buildings in the region, found dozens of tunnel shafts, and apprehended numerous operatives who had turned themselves in, including terrorists and the commander of a Hamas company. The notion that the military's onslaught had hindered Gazan militants' ability to fire rockets was dashed by Thursday's salvo on central Israel. Even though Gaza's rocket fire has drastically decreased as the battle goes on, the IDF has continued to advise civilians to heed the Home Front Command's emergency instructions. According to reports, Israel was the target of some 30 rocket launches, making it the biggest bombardment to hit the nation in at least a few days. According to Hebrew media, the missiles were fired from Gaza's central Nuseirat neighborhood. Many missiles were intercepted over the skies of central and southern Israel, according to reports from the ground and footage that has been uploaded online. At least 8 big explosions were observed by a Times of Israel journalist in Kfar Saba, which is around 80 kilometers, 50 miles from Gaza. As it had previously stated, Hamas would not accept a short-term ceasefire, similar to the one struck in November. Israel freed 240 Palestinian security prisoners, all of them were women or minors, and increased humanitarian aid to Gaza during the truce, freeing 105 hostages. Israeli officials said that Hamas broke the terms of the 7-day truce, which might have been extended further. At least 3 salvos of rockets were fired at locations near the Gaza border on Thursday morning, where most residents have been evacuated since the start of the conflict. They were the first rockets fired from Gaza in more than 40 hours, and aside from the week-long truce last month, it was by far the longest period of time without rockets since October 7th. The IDF only has limited authority over central Gaza, where the missiles were fired from, but on Thursday, it started to increase its presence. The IDF reported that the Yiftah Brigade of the division was still purging Hamas infrastructure from Gaza City's western neighborhoods. The IDF reported that during their operations, soldiers discovered a number of weapons, some of which were concealed beneath children's beds and inside dolls. They also stated that military engineers later destroyed the weapon stockpiles. On the 76th day of fighting, the EDF earlier on Thursday reported the deaths of 3 more soldiers, increasing the total number of military casualties from the ground operation in the Gaza Strip to 137. War erupted on October 7, 2023, when Hamas terrorist organization invaded Israel and brutally massacred and attacked civilians in southern Israel. 1,300 Israelis were murdered, and hundreds were abducted into Gaza. This war was sparked by Hamas's barbaric invasion and ceaseless rocket fire toward Israel. The Israeli Defense Forces, IDF, have one objective in the continuing fight against Hamas: to destroy the terrorist organization's military and administrative capacities. Until this objective is accomplished, we shall continue to pray for the IDF.